Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I just wanted to go ahead and give everybody an updated demonstration of some of the big differences between D2RLaunch and D2RLAN. So I know some of you may be familiar with it already, some of you may be confused on what the differences are, stuff like that. So we're just going to run through it together and help everybody out. So with that said, as usual, if you guys are liking this kind of content, make sure you like and subscribe, helps everybody out. And with all that out of the way, let's just jump right into it. So as I mentioned, we're going to be kind of discussing the differences between D2RLaunch and D2RLAN. As many of you are familiar with, these are mod manager type launchers that will help you use mini mods, browse between them, control different quality of life settings and stuff that you may like, and ultimately achieve, your desired gameplay experience through that. And then lots of quick and easy access to things like mod updates and your save files, backups, all that kind of stuff. That's the general consensus of it, but like I said, there are some differences that we're going to be talking about today. So the first thing I'm going to do is just head to our website, d2rmodding.com, and then we can head to the D2RLaunch tab here. So here is where you can kind of watch a setup guide on both installs. We're not going to go too heavily into that, as again, we're going to be discussing mostly the benefits and differences between them. But as you can see here, D2RLaunch is kind of based for our single player audience. So this is going to use the most recent Diablo 2 Resurrected files based on patch 2.8. But because of that, it doesn't have access to any hard code or custom edits, and you won't have access to things like TCP/IP access for multiplayer gaming. D2RLAN, as you might imagine then, is kind of the opposite in that regard. It is based on older Diablo 2 Resurrected files, so based on patch 2.4, but it's a special build that allows us custom access to hard code edits and other, custom features that wouldn't normally be possible. Along with that, as you can see, it does support multiplayer through the use of TCP/IP. So you can still play single player. It's dual purpose. You don't have to play online with others, but it does support it, and obviously that's a big deal for some people. So the difference other than that, if you open up the launcher side by side, you're going to have one that looks red, one that looks blue. Again, depending on the actual mod, they may support one or the other or both, etc. But they're open for any mod to kind of set up and create. Pretty easy to set up with that. So again, we're going to kind of be focusing mostly on D2RLAN as it has a lot of extra benefits and stuff that I want to go over. Just know that D2RLaunch obviously still exists. It's just not quite as updated because we can't do as much custom stuff with it. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead. We're going to hop into game, and instead of just showing you stuff, text, we're going to show you some of the actual nitty-gritty changes. So one of the first things you'll notice is I'm just going to go ahead and pull up one of our Discord posts actually, which is going to go over some of these changes, and I can just kind of show them off in game for you. So let's go ahead and hop back here. If you head to our Discord server and just go to the server guide section, you should see a post here, a resource for choosing D2RLaunch or D2RLAN. So we can go ahead and select that and then click the title to see it full screen. And this is going to show you a lot of the benefits and stuff, as well as explain a little bit more about the actual apps. But for this video, we want to care mostly about some of the benefits and drawbacks of using this, and we can basically go ahead and kind of just show some of these features and how that works. So obviously step one, we do have modded multiplayer access via TCP. So once more, if I just save and exit, you probably notice this TCP/IP button down here. You can both host and join other games. So I can simply host a game here, and I'm going to use this opportunity to show you one of the other features is that multi-boxing is possible by default. So I'm going to go ahead and join my own game so that you can basically just see how that works in reality. So obviously I already have one game in with my sorceress, so let's just go ahead and join in with the druid here, and we'll make sure we enter the right information. Alright, and there we go. You can see the character here. We're now playing with our quote-unquote buddy, my other self, and that shows just both the, TCP side of things as well as the multi-boxing and stuff. Obviously, if your computer can't handle two processes at once, then that's a different story, but it does allow you to do it. Moving on from that, a little bit hard to show just in practicality, but the save file size has been increased from 8 kilobytes to 32 kilobytes. This will be a big deal for a lot of you that like hoarding jewels and stuff like that in your stash, as even in retail, without any increased storage sizes or anything like that, you will run into save file space issues just from the sheer amount of items and how much space they take, which will cause you to just basically randomly lose items as it attempts to make space to save the character file again. So with D2RLAN, the 32 kilobyte increase is basically enough that you don't ever have to worry about it. Even with expanded storages and you cram it with nothing but one by one items with lots of stats on them, you still won't have enough to be able to reach the cap. So it's basically future-proofed a little bit in that regard, where you can just use it without concern, especially in modding environments. Speaking of stash, another big improvement that a lot of you people have been kind of wanting is a plug-Y style system, where we have many pages of stash tabs. So not only have we gone through and unlocked all 7 of the tabs, but if I show you an example here, so on tab 1 of page 1 I have this crystal sword, but I could also go to page 57 and have a complete set of new ones. And it looks like my stash didn't actually load correctly here, so give me a second and we get to do some live bug reporting. Alright, so looks like I had a failed to load on the HUD here from all the swapping, the multi-boxing, so let me go ahead and just restart that. Sorry about that. Alright, yeah, let's go check our pages. Uh-oh, where'd it go? Probably it's on the old file now. Okay. Alright, that was 100% my fault. I wouldn't take that too much into consideration. But let's pretend I'm not an idiot and I know how to mod my own mod. You can see here I have a sword in tab 1 of page 1, and then if I switch to something like page 52, you can see we have like a new set of tabs, so I could put that item there and swap between them, and then through the launcher you can rename all these. So if we go to options, quality of life options, you do have a personalized stash tab setting where you can rename all the pages, the tabs, etc. to exactly what you'd like. So if you'd prefer page 1 was for uniques and page 2 was for jewels and all that, you can rename them to kind of make that a little easier to organize and stuff for you. But yeah, as I said, please ignore my earlier faux pas there, but it's essentially just everything is on pages now, and you can kind of switch around as needed. And with 64 pages of 7 tabs, especially with a lot of mods using expanded storage, it's essentially infinite storage because you can track your complete grail, probably 2 of them, and still have plenty of room left over. And then combined with the increased storage sizes, you don't have to worry about any of that causing an issue. Another big advantage of LAN is the active loot filter. So again, once more, through the launcher you can control things a little bit more, but if I select this loot filter option here, you can see that there's several different loot filters from people. If you're not familiar with the loot filter, it allows you to dynamically control how items are viewed in game, whether you want to give them fancy text or colors to make them easier to see, whether you want to hide junk items or minimize their strings so they don't take up so much room, all that kind of stuff. You can do that all with a loot filter, and you can do it in real time with advanced logic, so that you can do it for only certain qualities or stat conditions and all sorts of stuff. So what I'm going to do, just because it'll probably make a better example, is I'm going to go ahead and choose Sheep's filter here, And you can see when I select his filter, in the kind of preview, it's going to list some of the rules and stuff, what he focuses on for this filter. So it gives you a chance to kind of review things and see if it's something you'd like. But once you've decided you like it, we can just select the apply filter option. And then, depending on what hotkeys you set, which we'll get into in just a minute here, you can see here that for reload game filter, I have some hotkeys set. And so just pressing that hotkey in game will allow me to reload that filter. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And then as you can see, it gives me a little reloaded message that everything has in fact been reloaded. So now if I do something like, I believe he has a filter for this. Looks like I don't have any good items on this character because I'm a pleb. So what we're going to do is we're going to cheat a little bit. One more feature of D2RLAN is we do have a debug command system. Depending on the mod, you may have to go through an Easter egg to unlock it, or it may be outright disabled depending on the author preferences. But we do have a kind of debug command system. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and spawn in an item here, and as you can see, the loot filter has notified me that a legend has appeared, or in this case it's just letting me know a unique item has appeared. And so as that drops, I'm going to go ahead and ID that real quick. You can see it was just a Biggins bonnet in this case, and depending on the filter, you know, that stuff can be hidden or not. But again, it will let you show what is available. You can also see it added an orange border to the item. Again, just make it a little easier to stand out. And this kind of logic can be applied to anything, so that again, you don't see scrolls and potions if you don't want to, or only at certain levels, etc. All that is adjustable, and it is fairly easy to kind of adjust yourself. So if there's a couple rules or things you'd like to change, then you can simply hit this open filter button. It will take you to the actual filter. I wouldn't get too stressed about seeing all of the stuff at once. If you just break it down and take it slow, it's actually really easy. The green words, or the green text, is going to be the comments. It just lets you know like what this rule is for. So for example, this rule just adds a special suffix to anything that's a rune word that says don't leave me, so that if you accidentally drop it, you don't leave game, you know, without picking it back up. Stuff like that. So a lot of it can be really easy to adjust, especially as the authors do a pretty good job of commenting things, even if it's to poke at me, which is all good. But yeah, that's just how the loot filters work. Again, feel free to find one you like, make your own, etc. But lots of options for you to kind of control things how you like in that regard. And yeah, once more, I know it's a big feature for a lot of you. You might have noticed it as I was kind of pressing the auto map. I'm going to get back to the max gold, but terror zones are kind of re-implemented with custom logic in D2RLAN. So terror zones as a default feature came after patch 2.4, so we kind of had to re-implement them with our own styling. So as you can see here, we have our terror zones active in a similar display method to how it is in retail, but you can see now it will also show you when your next rotation is, as well as allow you, again, this is up to the mod author whether they want to use this particular part of the feature or not, but they can set additional stat adjustments based on those levels as well. So now, while these levels are terrorized, the monsters are also going to get some additional stat buffs or debuffs to help expand that experience out more. So obviously now they're going to do more lightning damage, they're going to replenish life, etc. So again, this is author controlled, but it can be used to expand the functionality of terror zones a bit further, and you know, make that a little more enjoyable. Speaking of hotkeys once more, you can see there are now hotkeys to cycle terror zones, as well as turn on or off the stats display. So I'm going to go ahead and set one for this real quick, just so you can see that. And then we're going to go ahead and turn off the stats display. So as you can see, all that green text went away. The stats are still active. We've just told it like, hey, we don't really want to see you anymore. And then if I want to change the current terror zone, again, I can use the hotkey for that. and you can see it change over here. Just like before, it will automatically rotate in about 5 minutes or so. But again, you can use this to kind of adjust things, control them how you want, turn on or off stat displays, etc. So again, Terra zones will continue to expand over time and kind of get a lot bigger and healthier. Another custom change has been Sunder charms. So with Sunder charms, again, this was a feature that came after patch 2.4. So we've had to implement it custom. And while because we've done that, we've made a few kind of key changes to it. This is much more like retail and functionality, except for these will forcefully reduce. So I don't have a Sunder charm on me. I should have thought of that. Let me think if I can cheat something in real quick. Let's see here. Let me try to cheat a charm in for you real quick. I apologize, guys. I should have had some of this more prepared. And I don't even have the text files. Okay, so cancel that. We did a bad job at video prep today. We'll keep that in line for next time. In this mod, we don't use Sunder charms, which most of you are familiar with Sunder. We have individual reduction. Can't talk today. Immunity reduction stats that you would piece up, just like minus enemy fire resist or other things like that. You would have to acquire it manually. You know what? I should have another character. Let me try this to give you something to show. Alright, so wouldn't stress too much about all the enhances and stuff you see on this, but essentially you can see the line that says enemy magic immunity reduced by 5%. So this is the same thing as the Sunder mechanic. In retail, the Sunder charms actually give you a 300% immunity reduction. They just don't ever show you the actual value. They just show you the flavor text instead that says, monsters have been sundered. So it's the same exact method and mechanic. In this mod, we just, again, use it slightly differently, where you got to build it up like other stats. But the importance of that is that it will apply directly to the monsters. So what this means is that let's say the monster was at 110, cold res, therefore immune, and you used either a Sunder charm or the immunity reduction stat to reduce that below 100 and be able to damage it. In retail, because it was once immune, your lower resist or your conviction aura, etc., is still going to apply at a 1/5 application rate, because that's the penalty for being immune. So if I hover over my lower resist here, let me go ahead and put some points in that to give it a better representation. You can see that for normal enemy elemental resistances, again for this mod at this skill level anyways, that it would reduce their resistances by up to 62% normally. However, if they were immune at one point, even if they were broken with Sunders, then it's only going to give you a 12% reduction. Whereas in our system, because this is all done forcefully, then you are going to get the full 62% reduction if you have broken their immunity. So if they're still immune, then you're still going to have to deal with that 12%. But unlike in retail, if you've broken them via sundering, then you're going to get the full benefit from skills after that. That's more or less the only real functional difference between them. It still applies from your character. Because it forcefully applies to the monsters, you don't have to worry about passing all that information to your mercs and summons and stuff. They're going to benefit from it naturally, because again, the monster itself is the one who's being reduced. So sorry for that long-winded thing and the non-preparation there. But yeah, so I want to go over some of the smaller edits here and how you can control some of the things as an author, as in a player. So for example here we have max gold capacity increased, max player count increased, stuff like that. If we go to our mod folder, so I'm going to go ahead and go try to find it because I'm a bad streamer. Alright, and in your launcher folder, so D2RLAN launcher, you're going to see a file called config.json. And if we open that up, you'll see that this is where we allow some of the hardcode edits, special settings that you can change, etc., such as customizing how much gold your stash can have, your character, etc. So simply, if you wanted to expand the gold rate, maybe make it times 10, you can just add another 0 in there and save the file, and you're all set. Your new max gold will be set to that. Just keep in mind that with gold specifically, that does affect like the save bits of the character, or how it loads that character, I should say. So if you're trying to play with somebody else who does not have the same max gold as you, because you guys are running different versions or whatever, then there could be some conflicts there, just because one of you will not be able to go that high, and the game will get a bit confused. But other than that, again, just change it to what you like, and you're ready to go. And there's a lot of other things like that, again, for other settings. So if you want to override the maximum player difficulty, here's where you can set it to players 65,000 or players 10 or 20, whatever you kind of want the new max to be. If you want to control the maximum level of items that drop, this includes items that can be output from the cube. Then once more, instead of having it being restricted to level 99, you can just type in 125 or whatever value you like there, and you can increase that cap. And then we also have other benefits like forcing classic whirlwind, so that if you really like that one frame per attack behavior of it from classic, then that is something you can enable just by leaving the value as EB, or change it back to 74 if you'd like that retail behavior. And then finally, just as a quick wrap up, we have some things like you can control hit chances, disable run penalty while running, stuff like that. Again, just by updating the values as you prefer. So instead of having a minimum 5% and a maximum 95%, maybe you want to go the full 0-100 or whatever. All this stuff is easily controlled in our config file, and again, simply saving it and then kind of restarting the game so it can apply those changes, and you'd be all set for that. So just one more ability that comes with D2RLAN. And you guys have already seen a part of this in-game command system, but essentially you can do almost anything you want. Again, it depends on the mod whether they have this enabled, whether you have to basically unlock it via Easter eggs or some other method, but it is potentially there for you to enjoy, again, depending on the author's preferences and stuff. But let me show you an example. I can type in go to, we'll just type in 44. And it will take me to level 44, which in this case is the Lost City. So as you can see, you can kind of use that for anything. I want to go to the cows, I can type in go to 39. We have a special event right now for them, so don't mind the little baby cows. But yeah, we can do this for just about anything. Go to the custom levels, and there's all sorts of different commands to help out with this. I'm going to go ahead and drop all my gold here for a minute. And then we're going to just type in gold 50k, and then you can see I got 50k. We can adjust levels. I'm level 119 right now. I can just type in level 122, and now I'm level 122. If I want to give myself 20 all skills, I can just type in 20 all skills. And there we go. Oops, I think I typed in 50 on accident. Oh well. Anyways, it's all very easy again. We do have access to the command system. Obviously, use it at your own discretion. It can be pretty easy to ruin your game experience. But if you're trying to do some debugging or some messing around with a buddy or whatever, then obviously we always kind of understand that stuff. And the rest of it I've kind of just shown via the config file and stuff like that. There's a lot of different settings that you can change, adjust, and that are just plain kind of custom in D2RLAN. But it's not nothing but sunshine and roses. There are a few downsides depending on the mod you're playing that may impact you more or less. So the big ones are going to be kind of these four here, although there might be some smaller details between them that may be more or less important to you specifically. So one of the big ones is States.txt is limited to 255 rows. So if we open up the kind of retail file here for that, we can see that by default they use about 191 entries. So most mods don't have an issue because that gives you another 60 states you can add, plus all the kind of unused ones that you can take over in the file and kind of get clever with how you use them. But anyways, for some mods that may be an issue. They may have to rejigify things a little bit if they've gone over that 255 state limit. Another issue is passive stat columns 7 to 14 don't yet exist. So once more, if I open up skills.txt here and I just head over to the passive stat columns, we can see passive stat 7, passive stat 10, etc. However, if I go ahead and do the same thing in the current files, which of course I still don't have, then let me go ahead and do that. Sorry guys. And if we do that in the D2RLAN based files, again, since they're based off version 2.4, we can see that those columns don't yet exist. They cannot be added. The game just doesn't understand them unless it's also added into the code and stuff. Just like with tear zones and Sunder charms, these very well may come in future releases, as a no longer a downside, but at this time they are still technically not available. So again, you might want to consider it. Now, the chance to not consume charges, the stat itself that is most popularized by the rune word Mosaic in retail is also not available. Now with retail, with Blizzard appearing to nerf that in an upcoming update. We'll see how much that matters for a lot of people. But again, if you are a heavy fan of Mosaic and the mod you're playing has not made any changes to improve that situation for martial arts finishers, then that may be something that you want to consider. And then finally, the last kind of annoyance thing isn't so much a outright feature loss, it's just a bit of a quality of life downgrade, as the Hireling skill icons. So if I were to go ahead and pull up my Hireling, you can see that they actually have a lot more skills. Let me see if I can pull this up in D2RLaunch for you guys real quick. As again, this is based off 2.8, so you'll be able to see how it would look normally. Alright, let's just go hire somebody. So as you can see, they normally would have all their different skills displayed. And then as you hover over them, obviously you would see their info, their correct name, and stuff like that. This is actually because there was a new column added after patch 2.4 that allowed you to specify all this stuff and use it properly. However, in 2.8, you can see that those same icons don't exist because, well, that column doesn't exist. So like it used to be, it's still in that kind of hard-coded state, and so we've done things like add a menu button, for example, to help display all that, but obviously that's not going to be ideal for everybody. And whoops, I think I got too much going on with the both apps open. But anyways, so as you can see here, you can click the Show Merc Info button, and similar to showing all the skills properly, it will kind of outline things here and stuff like that. But again, I know not everybody wants to deal with that. So let me go ahead. We need to close this other app. It's getting too laggy for my old computer with everything else streaming and going on. But yeah, so that would be kind of the fourth downside, if you will, is that yeah, that will need to be accounted for if you've done a lot of work on giving your mercs a whole bunch of skills or something like that. But with that long-winded kind of explanation and showcase of everything, how it'll pertain to you, I hope it'll paint a good picture of how things work, and how much big, important kind of custom stuff that will continue to arrive for D2RLAN that just simply won't be possible in D2RLaunch, or those just version 2.8 base mods that are more restricted in that regard. So definitely a lot of benefits, but I could see if it's not for everybody, if you're really stuck on Mosaic or something like that. But hopefully, you're also playing a mod that has helped a little bit more in that regard and stuff like that. But I digress. So I do hope that some of you will try it out, take advantage of some of the new hotkeys and stuff we have. So you can transmute quickly, you can reset only your stats or skills as you desired. You can even set up startup commands and custom commands, so that, for example, if every time you get in game you want to turn on no pickup and to put it on players 2 or whatever, you can do all that stuff just by typing in your startup commands, and every time you join a game it would automatically enter in that list of commands for you, so that you don't have to do it every game. There's all sorts of tiny stuff like this that we try real hard to add in as a general quality of life experience that I think a lot of you will enjoy. And then obviously, if you've seen the other videos, you know all about character restores and different things like that both launchers give you access to. So I do hope this has been an informational video. Again, apologize for any long-winded explanations from me, but I wanted to be sure I kind of showed you guys how it worked in game and stuff like that as well. But yeah, thanks for being so patient and sticking around to the end of the video. Take care. Bye.